Hello everyone, John Kung here with something a little bit different for you today. First of all, this is actually my office and this is where I do all my editing and stuff. There's Boba in her office chair taking notes. Good job. So this will be the start of what is hopefully a new series. I have the opportunity to travel a lot. And even though I don't work in restaurants anymore, I have a huge love for the food and beverage industry. It's where I got my start. It's where I learned everything I know. It's how I learned all the things that I teach you here on my channel. And I still want to be able to get out and showcase what some amazing chefs are doing out there. Starting with this one. Chef Yara is an immensely talented chef in Ridgewood. She is seriously a rising star. Came to New York from LA to work at Momo Fuku, and then opened up her Mexican-American gastropub in Queens. I got to go visit her and we talked about all sorts of things. And she also made a dish that was inspired from something from my book, as well as paired it off with something from her menu, which I thought was super cool. And then afterwards I got to have dinner there and that was absolutely excellent. I'm pretty sure they're going through a menu revamp right now, but honestly, Yara is super talented and she'll be able to pull anything off. One thing I really love about the place was when I was there, it was full of people who worked in restaurants and bars. Hellbender was the kind of place where a lot of people would go after their shift at restaurants. And you know that just means that you've got good food, good company, and good drinks. So without further ado, Chef Yara, Hellbender, NYC. Cool, okay.
All right, let's do it. Don't mind the ugly oven. Palace of food.
It's huge.
It's so big.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's ridiculously big. All sorts of things in here. Churros, and we have our cheese sticks.
Oh my God, it's organized and clean.
Honestly, it looks a little ugly right now. It can be a little nicer, but...
You're so modest.
But it's not.
No chef is gonna be like, this is the best it's ever looked.
You're right. It's part of like being hard on yourself, but you also have to give yourself a hug every now and then. You're like, you did it.
So run us through what you're making.
Okay, so I'm doing a play on your Sichuan sauce with Mexican chilies.
Amazing.
So I'm mincing the garlic now. And I saw you were pairing it with paneer cheese, but we have a really fun cheese stick here. It's like Oaxacan cheese ball that we unroll and just naturally cut into pieces.
Yeah.
And then we bread and cornflakes.
Amazing.
So it stays really crunchy, and I think tossing it in the sauce will keep it crunchy.
Do you incorporate a lot of like cross-cultural stuff into your cuisine?
I do. Going back to like the sourcing traditional ingredients and stuff, it's a question that comes up a lot, like how Mexican is it if I didn't use that pepper?
Yeah.
But I've learned to embrace it, honestly, and just be like, well, this one just tastes better.
Right.
And cheese is a big one. Like
the different kinds
of
cheese.
pasteurizing like methods in Mexico make cheese taste so much different than the ones here. So like the cotija cheese that we get in America is like pretty flavorless and dry. So we often substitute pecorino for that cheese because it has that very similar like sprinkly effect that you can do. Fourth cup of garlic. The fun thing about cooking too is like if we didn't speak the same language and you just watched, you can also recreate that, you know? And I think that's why so many different cultures and like a lot of immigrants find themselves finding jobs
in food
is because of that language barrier. But
going ultimately, you get it. You watch it, you see it, you can hear it, you can smell it, you can taste it if it tastes right.
Exactly. Top here with my blender support.
That is
doubles.
Brilliant. I never thought to do that.
This looks already Sichuan-y.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like a mix between like a Sichuan sauce and then like our Manchurian sauce, but then with like the Mexican chiles.
Going to add the tomato paste. Vinegar, soy sauce, sugar, pepper, pepper, and salt. And then they're all like kind of different shapes, but I kind of like that it like gives it a little character.
Yeah.
That one. You can toss them. How much do you coat them? Pretty coated, right?
Yeah.
Let's have a picture in your book.
Yeah.
Looks like, I was like, is that a chicken wing? Great. It's real good.
Love it.
What do you think?
That's so good.
So I was reading through your book. Obviously, Mexican chilies caught my eye when I was trying to resonate something that we can both bond on. And these were all ingredients that I already had here, Hellbender.
Perfect.
So I was like, sweet, this is an easy one. And as far as like the paneer cheese, I was like, we're using Oaxacan cheese. It's already breasted and crusty. So I think it'll hold up really well tossing it in the sauce.
Yeah.
So we made a Sichuan inspired sauce with Mexican chilies. And then toss that into breaded Oaxacan cheese sticks.
Amazing. Can we try it?
Yeah, let's do it. So you're gonna have to like help me
Oh, for sure.
pull one. Let's see.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, I'm surprised it's still kind of cheese pulled. Sweet.
Oh my God. Wait.
It's still really crunchy.
There was sugar in this? Okay, that makes sense. I wrote this recipe
You wrote
like
the recipe.
3 years ago. I really love how like all you had to do was change one thing, and then that's really all it took. And then there's still like a strong familiarity to this. Like this still tastes Chinese to me, even though we never eat cheese
Yay.
in anything. So, as a West Coast native who has cooked for some of the most innovative restaurants and for some of the most influential minds in American food who eventually would end up running a ship of her own and sharing her own cultural experience, why are LA tacos so magical and why are they so hard to find anywhere else?
That is such a good question. I would love that answer because I miss them. No, I feel because in LA you're still so close to Mexico, there's just such an easy pathway to back and forth where the recipe doesn't stray too far from the original.
Right.
Even though there is a border dividing both places, the ingredients are so much easier to find. Any American literally walk through Mexico, find out what that ingredient is, and walk right back.
And each of those stands are so different too.
They are,
like,
yeah.
all over the city, and every single one has like a very strict specialty. And then if you find ones that do fresh tortillas,
then that's a game changer. I'm surprised there aren't more places doing a fresh tortilla or a nixtamalized tortilla in LA. And also, I often find that the LA tacos are a lot more simple than the ones you find in other places.
They really are. Like, it's such a balance of different components that like if one of them's off, you would taste it right away.
Exactly.
It's so, it really is like a perfect food when made over there.
It's very
Do you
cool.
have a place here?
I do. I love Al Pastor Taqueria
Okay.
in Bushwick. I think those are some of the best tacos, even back in LA, to compare to.
That's it.
Yeah, it was the first place that I found where I was like, okay, we can let go of missing tacos.
There's one place in Detroit called Taqueria Lupita's, and theirs is close, but they don't do anything spicier than like a pickled jalapeno because they are so sorely in the Midwest that I feel like they're held captive over there.
Yeah.
But they do pretty good jobs. So how was the transition from being a lifetime West Coaster to New York? What do you miss most about LA?
It was really hard. I moved out here because I got offered a job and I was like, this is an opportunity that I can't miss out on. And I was so used to being surrounded by friends and family that I my friends I'd known since, almost kindergarten. Same with my family. We were just very close, lived very close by. And I didn't realize how much of a toll that would take being completely separated from everybody.
Are you here on your own?
Yeah. So I have no family members here or any of my close friends that I had from back home. So the first year was really hard, but being very busy at work definitely kind of helped, and it kind of put like blinders on me where there was like no distractions, this is what's happening, and there's like no reason to stop really. I have nowhere to be, nowhere to go. So I think that was like a benefit in itself, although mentally it was kind of a struggle, especially on like holidays, where you're used to spending a lot of time with friends. But I did work in a place where a lot of the people there were in the same boat. People would have moved out from different countries, different states to be there and find that in themselves as well and be like, I chose to follow my dreams. I chose myself above everybody, I guess.
What was the job like that you moved here for?
I moved out here to work at Momo Fuku it's a Michelin star restaurant. So it was very intense. This was in 2019 when fine dining, I think, was at its prime, really.
Yeah.
And I had no idea what New York was, to be honest with you. I was like, I already live in LA, which is one of the coolest places in the world. I can see the Hollywood sign from my apartment. This is like a symbolic thing that everyone in the world, at that time I was living in Thai Town.
Okay, cool.
So on Sunset Boulevard, I could literally walk in my apartment and like see the Hollywood sign. It wasn't like a very luxurious apartment at all. I think a lot of people are like, Hollywood is like so fancy. It's like, nah. It is not. And I had been used to working in places like that, and mentally moving here, I was like, New York is so known for its food scene that all of the best cooks work here, like people travel to be the best here. And I really wanted to find out what that was about, and I had like a lot of pressure to like want to be the best at that time, I guess.
What differentiates like good food in Los Angeles versus like good food in New York, in your opinion? Like, what is the height of dining, you would say, in Los Angeles versus that in New York?
That's a great question. A lot of the restaurants that are considered to be very amazing or the best in LA, I feel are a little more trendy in the vibe than food focused. I feel like in New York, it's like strictly about the culinary scene and like all of the accessories are like on the side, where I feel like maybe it was the time that I was living in LA, most focus was on restaurants that were like a little clubby, like Tao was like an amazing restaurant at that time. And it's like, well, people come here to like party, and yes, there is food.
Yeah. I feel like the best food in LA is like in a strip mall.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like parents, and it's different, like they can be Korean, they can be Mexican, they'd be like, but generally like it's those experiences in Los Angeles that are like the height of food there. I
agree. I think for locals, those are definitely the places that you seek out to that aren't usually, making, aren't usually like publicized as much.
Right. It's interesting, like the definition of what accessible dining over there is like, it's probably affordable, but they might not speak English.
That's true. Yeah.
So you've worked for some insane names in the food scene, including Wolfgang Puck, Michael Samaruski, and David Chang. What would you say had the most influence on your current philosophy of food?
Oh man, definitely working with Michael. That was maybe my favorite restaurant to date that I've worked at, Providence in Los Angeles. It was very ingredient focused and source focused. The majority of honestly 99.9% of our ingredients came directly from a farmer. All of our garnishes and like herbs were grown in a garden upstairs that we took turns taking care of. So every week it was someone's job to take care of the garden on top of your daily prep list. Yeah, I often think back to things. I mean, every chef kind of leaves, you know, something that he yelled at you at one point and you never forget. But I often remember him, you know, being like, I've been to all the restaurants in the world. Like, I know that what we're doing here is just as important, you know, or just as amazing as anyone else. But when you're used to something so normal, you don't appreciate it as much, I guess. You have to kind of like take a step back and look at a perspective and be like, okay, this actually is something very amazing and very special.
Do you think that era of like the shorty chef is done?
I hope so.
I was so lucky when I was coming up in the scene in Detroit that like I didn't have a single chef who was like that kind of aggressive. They were always so chill and so even keel, to like the point where I worked for one at their pop-up who was that like toxic masculinity like thing, and I was just like, this, I'd never want to be this person.
It's a lot of like passion-driven emotions that I think a lot of people have learned to maybe put in a box or figure out how to express differently and take other people's, you know, emotions and feelings into consideration.
There's also a lot of boys being excused for bad behavior.
So many boys. Yeah, it is. It really is a lot of boys, which I'm also glad to see a lot of change in, you know?
Yes. I noticed that all the places that you had worked for do not serve the same style of food that you do now. What did you draw on when crafting the food concept of Hellbender?
Definitely the sourcing part was very important. And I mean, as of what Hellbender is now to what it first sought out to be, there has been so many changes that I think all the places that I worked at now have had an influence on that drove me to make a lot of these changes. And a lot of them is an emphasis on hospitality and how you make people feel when they come in, you know, to share a meal with you. I think it's really important to appreciate that and like really think about how this person today is hungry and needs to eat something to be alive, and they've chosen your place, you know. So hospitality is definitely one that I think can be missed and is all around, should be part of any restaurant, but also thoughtful sourcing and organization skills. These places that I've worked at have been so organized, have had like protocols for everything to help it run smoothly.
Yeah, you're
and consistent,
which is like one of the most beautiful.
I would have gotten yelled at if any of my chefs didn't see that.
Do you like take any inspiration from like nostalgia at all? What was food like growing up?
Yeah, a lot of the food now I think is a version of some nostalgic thing, and even now when I go visit my mom, I come back and I'm like, damn, I forgot that I really liked that thing that my mom made, you know? But going back to how traditional is it, how traditional can I make it in New York when we don't have the same ingredients or the same access to some things? I think that's part of like the evolution of what Hellbender has become.
Yeah, nice. We've all had our palates evolve over time as we grew up. What was your favorite childhood food that still actually holds up today?
Ooh. This is gonna sound kind of cheesy, but avocado toast. I think, you know, when you're like younger and you're like, okay, I have to make myself a snack. Yeah. My mom is not here. What do we have? We have white bread and we always have avocados, and I don't have to heat that up or anything, or I don't really need a knife. I can just like scoop it out. I would eat like white bread, avocado, and then like a sandwich pretty much.
That's awesome.
And so I still do that. I like to think that I invented avocado toast. I haven't said it to anyone because I don't know if I'm ready to hear what they have to say, but I think I invented avocado toast.
My childhood my childhood toast snack was like butter and sugar.
Ooh,
did y'all ever do that?
I never did that, no.
It was like the whitest of white bread, and it was toasted, and they would do like a salted butter and sprinkled with sugar on it. I was a big kid, but
I like that.
yeah, that was.
Do you still have it now?
I can't do it now.
We can't do it anymore.
No, it would hurt my teeth.
It didn't hold up.
Yeah, but then you have like I saw on like TikTok, it was like people were doing fairy bread, which was like butter and sprinkles and stuff.
Oh,
Just
ooh,
so much.
Glitter?
Yeah.
Is that like the glittery drink stuff?
Oh no, like that's the edible glitter.
Okay,
Yeah,
it was not like that. No, you mean like sprinkles?
Like sprinkles.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's weird.
I know. There's actually also like the weirdest thing that I had in Taiwan that had to deal with sprinkles was like an almond shrimp. This was like back in the day. This dish must have been like back in the day, like in the 80s, where like American processed food was probably considered like a luxury thing, and they were like, "Oh, we're gonna put sprinkles on this shrimp," and I was like, "This should have stayed."
Intrigued to try that.
It's the
aesthetically
sweet and
pleasing.
savory.
No, it's not. It just looks crazy.
It is not. It was like, okay, some things just we need to work
Yeah,
stuff.
just let it go.
Yeah, that was all my questions. Thank you so much. This was
Thank you.
so good.
I'm glad we went through it really fast.
Yeah.
If you have time, you should come back